We are back, and we have the great pleasure, Minister, to have you back on this floor. You were here an hour ago, and so we are very pleased you accepted to have a dialogue with us, to have a dialogue with me and with Eba Saleh, the Cairo correspondent for the Financial Times. Thank you, Eba.
Yeah, hello, thank you.
And Minister, in the previous session, in the opening, you mentioned Egypt's vision to end the vicious cycle. And you were very clear and detailed. And also you stressed that military supremacy will not bring peace. Now, can you elaborate a little bit more on what Egypt has been doing to promote this negotiation, and where does the negotiation stand right now? Where is this? Because we have been hearing the truce, the temporary truce, the ceasefire since months now, but you are directly involved, so you can share with us your view. Please, Minister.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. It's always a great pleasure to be with you and to talk about issues of our common interest and concerns, and notably, of course, the situation in Gaza. As for us, as for Egypt, maybe...
Microfono. Sorry. We are not silencing you, Minister. We want to hear you. 1 second. Okay. Let's see if this one works better. Okay. Proviamo?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, perfect.
It's fine. Good.
Much better.
Good.
Please.
So again, it's a pleasure to be with you, and it's really what's happening in Gaza now is shameful. Shameful for all of us, shameful to the international community, to all civilized world to accept such kind of catastrophe to continue to be happening for more than 1 year. This is something shameful. As you all know, we are now exceeding 150,000 of dead and the casualties in Gaza now. 44,000 have been killed. According to UN, 70% of them, they are children and women. We still have more than 15,000 under the rubbles and another 100,000 being injured. This has never happened in modern history. A country using starvation as a weapon and as a collective punishment tool. This is should be condemned and should not be tolerated. Egypt is doing its utmost efforts, of course, in order to stop this machinery of killings in Gaza and also in the West Bank. Our red lines are very clear. We will not allow the transfer of the people of Gaza in order to liquidate the whole Palestinian cause. This will not be tolerated and will not be accepted by Egypt. As you all know, Egypt was the country who led the peace process in our neighborhood, and even the great President Sadat paid his life for leading this path by going to Jerusalem in 1977. Egypt continued to lead and to play a very important role in order to stop the ceasefire. We worked very hard with the Americans and with the Qataris in order to have a deal which will consist of 3 main pillars. Release of all hostages. Secondly, release of some of the Palestinian detainees. And thirdly, is, of course, a complete, comprehensive ceasefire and hindered influx and flow of all humanitarian and medical aid into Gaza. Whenever we reach the moment of truth, and we've been very close to strike a deal and to reach an understanding on everything, the main problem always the same: the lack of political will in one party, in one side, not to be fully committed in order to reach this deal, which will guarantee the release of all hostages. We reached this moment of truth at least 3 or 4 times, and always you have one side which is backing away. This is something very, very frustrating, and to have a country to consider itself above the law and having impunity in the 21st century, this should not be accepted and should not be tolerated. We have to be honest, and we have to be serious as well. History did not start on the 7th of October. You know, this suffering is back to 1948. And of course, without addressing the core of the conflict, which is the Palestinian cause, I can assure you no enduring peace and stability in this region. And as I mentioned before, even you have full military supremacy and hegemony, and that, of course, will not bring peace and stability to Israel and to our neighborhood.
Thank you, Minister. Let me interject here. You've been asked about the ceasefire, but I would like to ask you about Egypt's vision for the future after a ceasefire. God willing, there will be one. We know Israel plans to maintain a military presence in Gaza. We know Gaza has been devastated and is unlivable. But so far, there is no clear idea of who will govern, who will provide security. Israel refuses the PA. What does Egypt propose? What would Egypt like to see there?
Well, we have a very clear vision for Gaza. Number one is, of course, to stop the ongoing killings of civilians. That's extremely important because sometimes, to focus only on the day after without finishing the business of what's happening today, this is not acceptable. So, first of all, we have to stop the ongoing killings. We must have a ceasefire, an immediate and comprehensive ceasefire, and unimpeded flow of humanitarian aid to Gaza. We used to have, before the 7th of October, at least 700 trucks entering into Gaza. Israel has 5 crossing points with Gaza, all closed, unfortunately. Now, if we manage to have 60 or 70 or 80 trucks per day, that's something good. But of course, this is not matching the needs of the people in Gaza, which is already in starvation. As for the day after, the future of Gaza, of course, we must empower the Palestinian Authority. This is the only legitimate authority on the Palestinian side. They have to be empowered, and they are capable. They have their policemen, and we are ready with Jordan, with the United States and others to provide the training to the existing Palestinian policemen and to empower them in order to take care of Gaza. Egypt is working very hard through hosting the Palestinian factions in order to have a minimal understanding, of course, among them, to have what we call it societal support commission from technocrats, not from affiliated persons to the factions, not politicians, to have this committee between 10 to 15 persons, all of them from Gaza, and to take care of the daily life of Gazans especially with regard receiving the humanitarian aid and distributing aid, and that would be for a transitional period. And of course, the President Abu Mazen will issue the presidential decree with regard to the formulation of this committee. So this is for transitional, and meanwhile, parallel to that, to empower the Palestinian Authority in order to take care of Gaza fully, and we will not accept separating Gaza from the West Bank. And that's very, very important. The unity, guaranteeing the unity of the West Bank and Gaza is of extreme importance, because both of them, including East Jerusalem, in addition to East Jerusalem, as of course the main territorial components of the Palestinian state.
There has been talk of Arab countries, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Morocco were mentioned as possibly contributing peacekeepers or a security presence in a transition. Is that something on the cards or that is being contemplated?
Well, again, I have to be very clear. Palestinians, of course, should take care of the security in Gaza. As for deployment of forces from different countries in Gaza, that should be number one condition with have a clear roadmap with a political horizon, and for achieving our common objective, which is the acknowledgement of the Palestinian state. If you are sending troops now without any political horizon, that's as if you are sending people or troops to protect Israel. That is not acceptable. We have to be very clear on that. Secondly, if we will deploy troops in Gaza within a clear-cut political horizon with a time frame leading to the establishment of the Palestinian state, that should include also deployment of those forces in the West Bank in order to guarantee the territorial unity of the Palestinian territories.
One more question on Gaza. Are you concerned, is Egypt concerned that under a Trump presidency, given that Mr. Trump in the past has been supportive of Israeli plans to annex the West Bank, are you concerned that either Gazans will be pushed into Egypt or the Palestinians might be pushed into Jordan, that a new solution would be imposed?
Well, for us, of course, annexation is not an option. We will not, as I mentioned, we will not allow the transfer of the people in Gaza to Egypt or anywhere, because this is practically will be a liquidation of the whole Palestinian cause.
Right.
This is a red line, as I mentioned, and we are sharing the same views and the objectives with Jordan. You know, for both of us, this is a red line. We will not allow people in the West Bank to go to Jordan. We will not allow people in Gaza. Why they should go out of their homelands?
Right.
This is not acceptable.
Okay.
You know.
Let me ask you about Lebanon. Egypt, you were in Beirut recently and you voiced Egypt's commitment to supporting Lebanon. And I would like to cast it a bit in the future. Do you see a possibility of, in the same way that Lebanon has drifted away from the Arabs in the sense that Iranian influence, do you see after this war Iranian influence diminishing, Egypt perhaps and other Arab countries supporting Lebanon, helping save its economy?
Well, our position is very clear. Lebanon is an Arab country, and we must respect and
إن لبنان دولة عربية ويجب أن نحترم سيادة أراضيه ولا يجب أن نسمح لأي دولة، إيران، إسرائيل أو أي دولة أخرى، حتى الدول العربية، لا يحق لأي دولة أن تتدخل في الشؤون الداخلية اللبنانية. هذا لبنان دولة ذات سيادة، ويجب أن نحترم هذه سيادتها على أراضيها، ورغبة الشعب اللبنانيين أيضا يجب أن نحترمها وفقا لعمليات سياسية محلية تدعمها.
the different factions in Lebanon
الأطراف المختلفة في لبنان على أن يكون هدفها اتخاذ قرارات بشأن مستقبل لبنان، بشأن مستقبل الأنظمة السياسية اللبنانية، وأيضا إنشاء حكومة جديدة. ولكن مجددا هذا كله يقف على رغبة الشعب اللبناني، ولكن أولا يجب أن نوقف العدوان المستمر على لبنان، وهذا أمر مفتاح. يجب أن يكون هناك وقف لإطلاق النار، ووقف إطلاق النار ليس شرطا لانتخاب رئيس جديد في لبنان، وهذا أمر يجب على اللبنانيين أن يقرروه. ولكن التدخل في الشؤون الداخلية اللبنانية ليس أمرا مقبولا من أي جهة، إن كانت دولة عربية أم لا. هذا أمر يجب على اللبنانيين أن يقرروه. اسمح لي أن أسألك عن أزمة البحر الأحمر. ذكرت صباح اليوم أن مصر خسرت 8 مليارات دولارات نتيجة الهجومات على السفن في البحر الأحمر. ما هو موقف مصر؟ نعم، أنت على حق. هذا أزمة للمنطقة ولنا، وهو يؤثر حرية التنقل البحري، وهو يؤثر أيضا على سلاسل التوريد في العالم بأسره. إذا كنا جديين بالنسبة لحد هذا الوضع في البحر الأحمر، يجب أن نتعاطى مع إيقاف الحرب، وهو العدوان على غزة، وهو السبب الجذري والأساسي لهذه المسائل.
doing this in order to support or to show solidarity with the Palestinians. We must stop the war in Gaza. That's extremely important. And of course, we have to de-escalate the existing militarization of the situation in the Red Sea. This does not serve the issue of de-escalation. So we must de-escalate. We must, of course, address the root cause of the problem, which is the attacks and the aggression on Gaza and now on Lebanon, in order not to give any party, whether a state or non-state actor, to have a justification on having tension in this region. And as you correctly mentioned, we are paying heavy price for that. And it's coming in a time of high tension, of high pressure on us, on our economy, especially with regard to the inflation, the skyrocketing prices of food. Egypt is #1 net importer of grain and corn in the world.
Yes.
And we've been hit hard by the Ukrainian crisis and the skyrocketing prices of basic commodities. So, I mean, adding to that with the current tension in the Red Sea, that's making, our life more and more difficult.
Thank you, Minister. I'll hand you back to Dr. Magri.
Minister, thank you for your generosity. One last question. You heard this morning that RoMed, this initiative, was launched 10 years ago. And we were very ambitious at the beginning and stressing that our aim was to design a positive agenda for the region. But we were also very realistic, and we put a subtitle saying beyond turmoil. And in these last 10 years, there was no shortage of turmoil. We had COVID, Islamic State, the problem in Syria, the problem in Libya, but never like this year the region was so in turmoil, meaning de facto regional war with many countries involved and with all the problems that you mentioned. But we want to keep this visionary approach and positive approach, because eventually turmoil will finish. We don't know if we will have a force, an Arab force, what will happen in Gaza, but eventually the turmoil will end. Can I ask you to try to draft your vision of how the region may look like after the end of this crisis, and what order could emerge from this? I mean, your friend from the Arab League was very pessimistic at the end. Can I ask you not to be optimistic, that's your decision, to try to make a picture of what may come out of this turmoil, please?
Well, I would like just to draw your attention to what was happening in our neighborhood during the early 90s. We've been very close to have a new Middle East. We've been very close to have a new Middle East regional bank and the new Middle East Riviera and the new Middle East security regional system. We've been very, very close, you know, with the surge in the peace process. And unfortunately, all of this.
But we were very close this time as well.
Yeah, no, but
Arabia and Saudi Arabia and Iran, Abraham agreement. So we were very close a year ago.
No, let me be very frank with you. Without addressing the core issue in our neighborhood, the Palestinian issue, I can assure you no prosperity, no peace, and no stability in our neighborhood. We have to be honest with ourselves. You know, that's an important issue. Why we've been quite optimistic during early 90s? Because, you know, there was very positive developments with regard the Madrid conference, and then the mutual recognition between the PLO and Israel, and Oslo I and then Oslo II. So that's why that gave the more conducive political environment to move forward with regard to the issue of regional integration on commerce, on trade, on investment, on even on security. But again, after the assassination of Prime Minister Rabin, unfortunately, everything evaporated. And if you have, again, one country which is, using only military tools to impose and to dictate, again, I can assure you that will not bring peace to or stability to Israel or to our neighborhood. So everything is possible. We have huge opportunities and potentials in our region for more regional integration in security, on energy, on regional development, and we can have more interdependency. But again, with regard with the continuation of the occupation, I'm afraid that this is the main impediment. So again, if we are serious, if we are talking about regional integration, we must end this occupation, and we must have political horizon to address the legitimate rights of the Palestinians, but you cannot mix both of them. You cannot have the land, you cannot have the occupation, and to have full-fledged normalization with the whole countries in the region. This is our position, and this is, I think, the practical one and the pragmatic one, and we are pushing for integration, for prosperity. We are growing by 2.5 million people in Egypt. We have to create at least 1.5 million jobs every year. We cannot do that without having stability in our neighborhood. So again, we are very keen. That's why President Sadat took the lead by visiting Jerusalem. That's why now President Sisi is taking the lead in trying to bring stability to our region. We have excellent relationship with all parties, and we are using our efforts and our contacts in order to have stability in this region, in order to focus only not on destructions, not on war, not on occupation, but of course for a more prosperous future for our generations to come. We are very worried about the relationship between the people in our neighborhood. We have now more than 120,000 Palestinian kids living in Gaza, and they lost members or their families, the whole families. What do you expect from them 5-10 years from now? We are worried about a new wave of fundamentalism, of terrorism, of violence, and this does not serve the interest of Israel or the interest of Egypt or the interest of the whole neighborhood. So we have to be realistic. We tried this military means many times before, and it failed. So let's focus again on coexistence, dialogue, of course, and I can assure you in our neighborhood, whether in Palestine or in Libya or in Sudan or in Syria or in Yemen or in the whole neighborhood, I can assure you there is no military solution, only political and peaceful solution.
Thank you, Minister. You have been extremely kind to spend all together an hour with us. Thank you for our colleague from the Financial Times. Thank you all.
Thank you.